Here is a retelling of the story of Joseph and his brothers based on the biblical account from the book of Genesis. Joseph was the 11th son of Jacob, who was also called Israel. Jacob had two wives, Leah and Rachel, and Joseph was the son of Rachel, whom Jacob loved dearly. To show his special affection, Jacob gave Joseph a richly ornamented coat of many colors. This coat became a symbol of Jacob's favoritism. As you watch, kindly support us by subscribing, linking, sharing, commenting, or monetary for more productions. So Joseph had two dreams that he shared with his family. In one dream, he and his brothers were binding sheaves of grain in the field when his sheaf rose and stood upright, while his brothers' sheaves gathered around and bowed down to his. In another dream, the sun, moon, and 11 stars bowed down to him. These dreams made his brothers even more envious and angry, as they interpreted them as a sign that Joseph would rule over them. One day, Jacob sent Joseph to check on his brothers, who were grazing their flocks far from home. When his brothers saw him approaching in his colorful coat, they conspired to kill him. However, Reuben, the eldest brother, intervened, suggesting that they throw Joseph into a pit instead, intending to rescue him later. While Reuben was away, the other brothers saw a caravan of Ishmaelites passing by. They decided to sell Joseph to them as a slave. When Reuben returned and found that Joseph was gone, he was distressed. The brothers then dipped Joseph's coat in goat's blood and presented it to their father Jacob, who concluded that Joseph had been killed by a wild animal and mourned deeply.
What?
In Egypt, Joseph was sold to Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh. Despite being a slave, Joseph gained Potiphar's favor and was put in charge of his household. However, Potiphar's wife falsely accused Joseph of attempting to seduce her, and Joseph was thrown into prison. Even in prison, Joseph's ability to interpret dreams brought him favor. He interpreted the dreams of Pharaoh's cupbearer and baker, accurately predicting that the cupbearer would be restored to his position and the baker would be executed. 2 years later, Pharaoh had troubling dreams that none of his magicians could interpret. The cupbearer remembered Joseph and recommended him to Pharaoh. Joseph interpreted Pharaoh's dreams as a prediction of 7 years of abundance, followed by 7 years of famine. He advised Pharaoh to store up grain during the years of plenty. Impressed, Pharaoh appointed Joseph as governor of Egypt, giving him authority over the land's preparations for the coming famine. As the famine spread, Joseph's brothers came to Egypt to buy grain. They did not recognize Joseph, who was now dressed in Egyptian attire
What?
and held a position of authority. Joseph tested his brothers by accusing them of being spies and demanding that they bring their youngest brother Benjamin to prove their honesty. Eventually, Joseph revealed his identity to his brothers, who were initially terrified. Joseph assured them that he held no grudge and that their actions were part of a divine plan to save many lives. Joseph invited his entire family to move to Egypt, where they were given the land of Goshen to live in. Jacob, who was overjoyed to be reunited with Joseph, and his family settled there. They lived in Egypt during the remaining years of the famine, prospering under Joseph's protection. Joseph lived to see his family thrive and was reassured that the dreams of his youth had indeed come true.
Wow.
Before his death, he made his brothers promise to carry his bones back to Canaan when God eventually delivered them to their ancestral land. This story, found in Genesis chapters 37 to 50, is rich with lessons on forgiveness, faith, and the providence of God in the face of adversity.